Vishnuvadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Vinaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charni Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschati Deshtara Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Shri Radha Madhava Hare Ki Jai Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai Shri Govinda Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai Hare Krishna. So I was thinking I'd speak about success today, but I'm open to speaking about anything we'd like to speak about. Success is good. Okay. I wanted to talk about 9 levels of success. That success goes through 9 different levels, beginning from a burning desire. Because sometimes we hear in this world that if you want to be successful, then you should have a burning desire to do something. And then that burning desire will allow you to have great success because you're so determined and persistent and all the other wonderful qualities that a person needs to have to become successful like that. So our scriptures talk about that being the first level of success. That's just like we were talking the other day about 9 levels the consciousness goes through. So success goes through 9 levels too. Each level of consciousness, there are 9 levels of success. So you multiply 9 by 9, that's 81 levels of success. And then it permutates 9 more times. When you reach the 9th level of consciousness, there are 9 levels of success in that 9th level that goes even further. So imagine that's like 9 times 81 now. And that's 700 and something levels. This is why there is conflict in this world, because people are at different levels. They can't understand somebody at another level and think my level is the best level, and the other one says, no, mine is the best. And then they duke it out with one another until they don't have any levels left, to duke out, because they use up all their capital. They battle each other so much, they use up their capital that they gain by having success. So, higher than success, where one has an intense desire. One has to have an intense desire. The desire is not intense, meaning it's not from the heart. It's not what you're doing, what you need to be doing. It's very important to understand that in life, one must follow the heart. If you really want to do something successfully, it's got to come from the heart. It's got to be you. It's got to be something you love doing. And yes, there are risks in this world. There's risk in everything. Death, it can come at any moment. That's the biggest risk you face, right? You can die at any moment. So everybody's going to be at risk. You're always at risk in the material world. At every step there is danger. You might say, at every step there is risk involved. So risk is not something that we should be averse to. We should not be risk averse. What we should do is embrace risk in a way that we can become extraordinary in our activities. Because ordinary activities do not excite anybody. It's boring, it's blasé, it's like, it's the status quo, it's laissez-faire. They use all these nice words to describe, boring people. People who think, I got a lot of money, so I became very successful. Whereas many people in this world had even higher levels of success with no money. Isn't that interesting? You don't need any money to be successful. If you have money, it's good. If you don't have money, it's still okay. It's not like you don't have anything. You have a human form of life. Who can make a human being? I was a German scientist, I was talking about this. And one time I used to do a lot of world traveling because I was a businessman. And, you're forced to travel around the world because the businessman will do anything to make money. take any risk to make money. So traveling around the world was something that was very common. It's common among business people. So I was talking to this German scientist, and I said, how much money would it take to manufacture a human being? He said, no, it would take a little bit of money, he said. I said, okay, let's go back. Let's ask another question. Can you make a human being? He said, yes, definitely. You can make a human being. And I said, how long have you been trying to make a human being? And he said, well, we've been doing it for some number of years, some decades, scientists have been at it. And I said, now you're at the stage you can make a human being? Yeah. And so why isn't it happening? I said, what's the problem? I think the chickens beating you guys, the chickens creating chickens before you guys can make a human being. I mean, who's the better scientist, right? Is the chicken a better scientist or you're a better scientist? The chicken is already creating chickens. You guys haven't created one human being yet. But anyway, I accept the fact that you can't make a human being. Let's not argue about that. But how much money is it going to take you? So he thought about it, and I said, what if I gave you $30 billion US? Can you make a human being? Scratched his head and said, well, I have to think about it. I said, I don't think so. I don't think with $30 billion you could make a human being. So if you think of a human being worth $30 billion at least, if you put it in one of these, Scrooge McDuck banks we have running around America, who don't give you much interest for your money. In fact, they make you pay for your money. They have a fee, You put the money in my bank, you pay me a fee. It's your money, and you have to pay your own money for them to give you money, your money. They'll give you your money and make you pay for it. It's pretty smart, right? These guys are real Scrooge McDucks, McDucks. So anyway, but even there, you'd earn, if you put $30 billion in the US bank, you'd earn something like $300 million a year. Just with 1% interest. $300 million. So, I think, what we all should do is just stuff ourselves in some bank account, and ask the bank to give me $300 million, and I'm worth $30 billion. The point is that human life is very valuable. It's extremely valuable form of life. The difficulty is we're like, imagine if IBM came out with a 1 cubic foot computer that cost $500,000 and it can do wondrous things, just like today's cell phones, smartphones do wondrous things. And but I like to eat walnuts, so I use that $500,000 computer to crack walnuts. I can crack walnuts with a $1.50 nut cracker, you know what I mean? Or like we Indians do it, you put it on a door hinge and just close the door, There's your walnut cracker, And they have to pay $1.50 because they don't realize that later on that they're paying tens of dollars to fix the door. It's called kicking the can down the road, I'm solving a problem now, but I'll create a bigger problem later. So, point is that we can become very successful in our lives with just the human form of life. And with any resources added on, we can only do it we can do much better. So the idea is, the one thing we need to do is to have the heart to do something, meaning that we should love to do something. And we should try to figure that out. In fact, it is said that the guru is a person who understands the nature of his disciple or disciple and engages the disciple according to their nature. That is a guru. That's the definition. Many definitions of guru. Another definition of a guru is one who understands scripture and lives by scripture. Another definition is one who trains other gurus is called a guru. Like that. Many definitions like that. This is an apt definition. That one understands the nature of one's disciple and then is able to engage the disciple so that the disciple can come to know the Supreme Personality of God and the Supreme Absolute Truth, which is the purpose of human life, Tathagata, Brahma Jignasa. Now that we have a human form of life, we should know the Supreme Absolute Truth like that. So, but this is only the first level of success. If you have a desire and it comes from the heart, you'll be successful. Now, if you want to increase, you want to get better, you want to create a higher level of success, the next level of success happens when you come in the association of persons who are in that field. This is why we have, law associations and medical associations and, devotee associations and all forms of associations. There is a saying in our scriptures that association, that in Kali Yuga, power lies in association. So, if one then enters the association of type of persons who are interested in the type of things that one is interested in, then one's success is only going to be a higher level of success, because many hands make electricity work. You know, the more people there are, you're going to get better ideas, you'll have support, you can do greater things in life. And this is why Srila Prabhupada set up this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He wanted a society with no Sangha. I don't think any of us would feel as enthused in our Krishna consciousness. It would take a very, very exalted person to work without Sangha, like Srila Prabhupada did. You know, he was alone, but he was able to do a lot. But then he also came into association. He met some people, albeit that they were hippies, and didn't seem to be very qualified, but their qualification was that they were seekers of the truth. And because of their desire to seek knowledge, they accepted Srila Prabhupada's the knowledge that Srila Prabhupada gave, his pronouncements, his instructions, like that. So they became very fortunate. These hippies turned out to be the most powerful devotees in the world. They went all over the world and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. In the United States of America, they were not given much credit. They were sort of like nobody valued them in America. And these are the ones who went all over the world and established the most powerful religion on the planet, Krishna consciousness. This is the power of Krishna consciousness. So let's then say, okay, now we have association. So how are we going to ramp up success beyond association? The third level is when you commit yourself. Because without commitment, success is not going to be the greatest. Commitment is like where one is ready to lay one's life down on the line. And again, you look at our movement again. Take the example of our movement. The initial devotees who joined the movement actually gave their life to the movement. You know, when Srila Prabhupada left, a lot of them felt lifeless. They felt like their life had been just sucked out of their bodies. They couldn't understand how they could exist, how they could live without Srila Prabhupada. That's how much they loved Prabhupada, and how much they were committed to this movement. And that commitment brought about this very powerful movement. Because really, the devotees didn't have any money. If you hear the stories of how it started, they didn't even have money to pay for the rent for the structures in which they started their program. Tell me a business that starts running with no money to pay the rent, the building that it's going to occupy. You have no money. You go to the landlord. First of all, you probably won't even find a landlord who'll give you a property to rent if you don't put the money down first, right? I mean, these devotees were so ingenious. They found somebody to give them a building in New York, of all places, you know, which is like one of the most materialistic places in the world. It's considered the top city of the world because it's the most materialistic city in the world. There, these devotees found a landlord who would give them a place to live when they didn't have any money. And then they would go around looking for money to pay the landlord. Okay, this is how they started this business. They started this business of Krishna consciousness. And we're sitting here today thinking to ourselves, we're struggling. We're not struggling compared to that. I mean, we have money to pay for the building, you know, it's probably being paid for, right? The building's being paid for, we probably do have a mortgage too paid. But we've done exceptionally well paying the mortgage down so much. So commitment brings about wondrous things, because then what happens in commitment is that you'll find that people will come and join you and do things with you. Because people like commitment. They like committed people. So then success goes to that level. Now, ramp it up some more. At the fourth level of success, we understand that there are things that we're doing in our lives that are holding us back from our progress. You know, we have some bad habits. We have some weaknesses. Sometimes we feel, well, I'm not a very confident person. I'm not qualified. You know, devotees say that all the time, right? I'm not qualified. You know, I'm just a fallen devotee. You know, and who did Lord Chaitanya come for? the most fallen. So in a sense, the most fallen are the most qualified, right? If Lord Chaitanya came for the most fallen, you better believe that that's the most qualified people. You know? Why are they most qualified? Because these people don't have an idea that they can do anything without the mercy of the Lord. They expect that since I can't do anything, you better empower me because I'm not going to do anything without empowerment. And honestly speaking, Prabhupada said it himself, 90% of our success comes from the empowerment of association. Comes from empowerment. 10% comes from our own effort. 90% comes from empowerment. So devotees who feel that they cannot do are the ones who actually do. And the devotees think, I will do it, they're the ones who cause the difficulties in this movement. They're the ones who, they're so proud of themselves, they're so capable that they're going to bulldoze their way through and make something happen. And honestly speaking, none of the other devotees really enjoy that type of association. We don't like devotees who like to show off, run in front of the group and grab the mic and do the kirtan and yell and jump up and down and do all type of gymnastics to show the world, look, I'm here, don't you see me? Don't you see how great a devotee I am? That type of thing. And nobody appreciates that. Everybody tolerates it, but they don't appreciate it. It's the same in this world, right? We see people who are very successful in this world, generally they're not very proud people. They're very, they apply themselves to their choice of service or product, whatever it is. Like say for example, in the case of Steve Jobs, he applied himself to Apple products in a way, and there was a time he actually, I think he didn't even file bankruptcy. He went through a bankruptcy situation, Business was doing really bad. Apple was worth nothing. Suddenly it became worth nothing. But he believed in himself, he believed in his product, he kept working on it, and today it's one of the most powerful companies in the world. Apple is one of the wealthiest companies in the world. So, this is when one understands that, okay, there are some things that I'm doing that are holding me back, and what's the number one thing that's holding us back? Right? Okay. There's something more powerful than pride holding us back. Ego, yes. It's our false ego, right? Our false ego is the number one thing. What does false ego tell me? I'm God. I can do it. Yes, you can. The other gods say, yes, you can. You're God, I'm God, dog is God, cat is God, everybody's God. You are Daridra Narayan. How Narayan became Daridra? Daridra means poor, by the way. One who is wretchedly poor is called Daridra. How God became wretchedly poor is hard to understand. It sounds like a misnomer in terms, God being wretchedly poor. So anyway, but everybody is a wretchedly poor God. And sooner or later they're going to discover themselves and then they'll become wealthy gods. They'll give up their wretchedness and their, what do you call poor? What's another word for poor? Their, we don't even know money. It's a nice word for it. Their poverty. I was going to go to poverty. Thank you. You see the power and then I got to be on to that. So it's amazing how the energy comes through, Poverty. I'll give up my wretchedness, I'll give up my poverty, then I'll become the original God that I was. It's just somehow I became affected by Maya, and Maya is causing me, well, okay, so give up your false ego, right? If you give up your false ego, that's going to help big time. It's not others, we like to blame others, because some misery comes to us. But actually misery is good for us. In my leadership training, I tell people that 21 reasons why misery is very good for you. It's extremely good for you. You think, no way. Then I start going through the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, they start believing, oh my God, it's true. This misery is pretty good stuff. I can use this energy, Because misery is a type of energy also, you can use the energy. It's like, a lot of Indians like to play cricket, in cricket there's something called a fast bowler, who does fast bowling, So the ball comes to you very fast. So what do? You take the momentum of the ball and flick it over the boundary and score a 6. They call it a sixer, And you do that by taking the momentum of the ball and using the momentum to flick it. And in football they do the same thing, right? Football players barreling down
big guy, 300-pounder barreling down, and you're supposed to stop him. So how do you stop him? You don't meet him head on. If you meet him head on, you'll probably end up in hospital. No matter who you are. What you do is you use his momentum to push him, and he falls over, and you tag him, and now he's out. That's a down, where he got to. So, the idea is to use momentum. Energy has momentum. All types of energy has momentum. So we use the momentum to actually serve the purpose that we're trying to serve. So then what happens is, higher than that, is when you now start developing, you now start, in a sense, start getting, because now you've given up the false ego and some of the other things that actually have been holding us back. Now we become fixed up. We now can be said to be in the element that we want to be in. Just like fish. Fish is in its fish is in its element when it's in the water. When it's out of the water, it's out of its element. And when it's out of its element, it is in a process of dying. And honestly speaking, each and every one of us is in that stage. We're in the process of dying. That's all it is. It's not a process of living. It's called the process of dying. There's a group out there called themselves Art of Living. I think it's much better to teach the art of dying than the art of living, because that's what we're doing. We're not living, we're dying. Every moment, we're one moment closer to death. Because we're out of our element. We need to get back into our element. That's where life is. Life is not, for the fish, life is not outside of the water, it's in the water. For the fish, the best thing that can be done is to put it back in the water. Now it can really live. Now it can do things. So we need to get back into our element, and when I say our element, there are two levels. One is spirituality and the other is our nature. Because even in spirituality, one should not do another service. If one does another service even perfectly, that is failure. One must do one's own service, and service is according to nature. In our Devi Varnashrama system, we say service is according to instruction also. Instruction of the authority, direction of authority, like that. But the authority is supposed to understand the nature of the devotee and engage them accordingly, because that is when the devotee becomes very enthused in their service, which is the minimal qualification you require to do your service, because after that will come determination, and then harder than that will be patience, like that. So once one becomes fixed up, then we can say, then what happens is that a type of a taste develops in what we want to do. And that taste is such that we now realize that, we can actually enjoy doing what we're doing. We enjoy it so much, it becomes part of us. We notice that with some devotees, that you can tell that they're really enjoying what they're doing. It may not be easy work. It may be the hardest work on the planet, but they're enjoying it. Why? Because they've developed taste for service. Prabhupada describes this word service very nicely. Prabhupada is a very amazing personality, Generally, we look at words and we take a Sanskrit word and we translate it into English, right? We translate it into English. And the translation that Prabhupada would use for that word is not always a common translation, but it's actually an accurate translation. It may not be common, but it's accurate. But Prabhupada did something even more miraculous. He took the English word and translated it into Sanskrit in a very amazing way. The example is, one of the examples is this word service. According to the English dictionary, does anybody have a smartphone? Anybody got a smartphone? Look up the English word service and see what it says in terms of its definition. What is the definition of service? Somebody read it out. I should have prepared somebody for this. Come in, go ahead.
An act of helpful activity.
A what?
An act of helpful activity.
An act of helpful activity, okay. What else? Any other?
Help, aid,
help, aid.
Do someone a service.
Do someone a service. Well, that's like begging the question. Right? You see, what service to fund service? But yeah, okay, you can see that, right? You know what Prabhupada described the word service to be? Prabhupada gave the definition of service. He said service is an expression of love. Where did we see that definition prior to Prabhupada saying that? Nobody heard that definition before. And that is actually the correct definition of service. It's an expression of love. Why? Because relationship is based on love and trust. Relationships are based on love and trust. So service is an expression of love and trust. There has to be trust in love, right? In love there has to be trust. There cannot be love without trust. This is the brilliance, the genius of Srila Prabhupada. So, when one has taste for service, which means taste for expression for love, right? Every time we're given service, sometimes we feel like, that's not my service. You know, you're not my boss. You're not my authority. You know, we might speak like that sometimes, right? When somebody tells us to do some service, and we think, I'm chanting, don't you see I'm chanting my rounds right now? You know, like that. Remind yourself about this definition of service. A person is asking you to express some love to Krishna. And you're saying what? Ask yourself that question. Of course, sometimes you need to chant your rounds, okay? But you can't be doing service and not chanting your rounds. Chanting your rounds is the highest service. We call the Hare Krishna movement because it's the chanting movement. Chanting is the highest service. But remember, Prabhupada also said that any service that you do that is bona fide service is also rounds. It's also counted as rounds because, you know, generally we are asked to do 64 rounds, right? Prabhupada reduced it to 16 rounds only because? Sorry? Because of other service, thank you. That was the real reason. You know, sometimes, Hare Krishna, we sometimes say to ourselves that Prabhupada reduced it from 64 rounds to 16 because they couldn't do 64 rounds. You know, that sometimes you hear that story, right? Prabhupada said, please do 64 rounds, and then people said, too hard. Prabhupada said, okay, 32, too hard, okay, 16, and no less than 16. You hear that story sometimes. But actually, that wasn't the reason why Prabhupada reduced it to 16. He reduced it to 16 because he had a movement to start. This movement needed people to do some service so the movement can move forward. What is the service? Expression of love. Yes, we can chant and express our love by chanting, but how many of us chant nicely? How many of us chant inattentively, 16 rounds a day? How easy is it to do that? Chant 16 rounds attentively. It's not easy. Expression of love according to nature is more possible. When you're doing service and you enjoy your service, whether it be cooking for the Lord, whether it be serving the deity, whether it be distributing books, whatever service it might be, one might enjoy that service. One might feel good about that service, right? Right? Just like you were telling me this morning, you know, you could go and serve. You went out doing Food for Life, and he loved it so much. He said, I can do this every day. You know, that's love, that's happiness, that's service, that is expression of love. With that, you can have a powerful movement. That type of attitude, you have a powerful movement on our hands. And that's what's happened. Many people have done things that they enjoy doing. The other day, we were watching these two wonderful devotees, Prabhu and Rameshwar speaking. You could tell from what they were saying. They enjoyed their association with Prabhupada. They enjoyed doing service for Srila Prabhupada, to promote Srila Prabhupada's mission. And the same is true for many devotees. They loved it, and because they loved it and they did that service, no matter how difficult that service was, but because they did it with love and affection, they're happy to do it, Krishna has given us big results. Turn it into a movement that if you look at it in the 50-year cycles, no movement has done in its first 50-year cycle what Hare Krishna has done in its first 50-year cycle. More than that, no movement, all the movements put together in their first 50 years have not done what Hare Krishna has done in its first 50-year cycle. What does that say? I mean, that's miraculous. There's nothing short of miraculous. The thing is, the devotees are their own worst critics. So the devotees like to beat up on themselves, you know. They learned this from the example of the shoe, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told us, you know, the best application of the shoe is to take it off your foot and hit it on your head, you know, and remind yourself that you're such a nonsense, you know. So the devotees somehow picked up on that idea very nicely. And they love beating up on themselves, you know, and others as well, by the way. Because they think, I'm enjoying this. Maybe the other one will enjoy it too. So, you know, the idea is that, but actually that is not what we meant to do. We meant to encourage one another. This is a difficult world. It's a world of impermanence and misery. Dukhalaya sashvatam. Dukhalaya means it's a place of misery, and sashvatam means it's not permanent, it's impermanent, it's unstable, instability. Instability and misery. I am. I am. How many people go around saying I am, right? So when they say I am, you should translate instability, misery. And they're touting themselves. Instability, misery. I'm the better instability, misery. It's amazing, this world, you know. You come to see it from a Krishna conscious light. It's a real comedy in action, you know. You can roll on the ground and laugh. By the way, do you know the greatest comedy in the world? If you don't, I'll tell you what the greatest comedy. Guess what the greatest comedy in this world is? If you really want to laugh, you want to hold your belly and laugh big time. Where would you go for comedy? Where would you go? Come on, we have some examples. Some of you might go to the TV and watch a sitcom and laugh. It's not always laughs, but you know, sometimes. Where would you go?
Prabhupada was very funny. Prabhupada was very funny.
Prabhupada was very funny, yeah, but you know, yeah, Prabhupada was very funny, it's true. That is true, he was very funny.
Prabhupada was like Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin is, yeah. My place, because you know, I deal with a lot of difficult issues, you know, so I need to have comic relief, otherwise I can go insane, you know. So where I get my comic relief from is watching televangelists speak. I can tell you, you'll be rolling on the ground. It's really funny, you know. I saw God, and God told me, you know, crack $100 bill, that when you give donations to this church, this is what it should look like. And I'm rolling in the ground. Oh my God, if God came and saw you, he wouldn't be worried about $100 bill, man. It's got a bigger thing to do. $100 bill, in God we trust, right? That's their God, you know what I mean? In God we trust. You know, you can have good fun, man. I can tell you. Just watch some of these televangelist programs. I can tell you, you'll be rolling on the ground and laughing your head off, you know. It's really good fun, you know. Really good fun. But that's what we do too, in a sense. We're doing it maybe a little more subtle than them, but you know, we do the same thing, right? I want to become a pure devotee syndrome, you know, I call it PDS. It's got PDS and pure devotee syndrome. It's good fun, actually, it's really good fun. When you look at it from a little dispassionate point of view, Hare Krishna movement is a really great movement, you know. It's really exciting, it's got a lot of fun in it. It's got a lot of, it's like, you know, in a drama, you need everything, right? You need comedy, you need some, what do you call it? What's when we get sad? What do you call it in drama? Tragedy. You need some tragedy, you need some comedy, you need some, what else? Other types of things happen in a drama. So, you know, that happens in Hare Krishna. You get everything in Hare Krishna. You got the full package in Hare Krishna, you know. Some devotees you will meet who will be certified insane devotees. You know? You can tell this guy is a fruitcake walking around. But in right, Prabhu says fruits and nuts. You know, he says California is a state of fruits and nuts. I think what type of GBC are you? You call your people fruits and nuts. So you're the chief fruit and nut, right? Everybody else is fruits and nuts. Then you're the chief fruit and nut, you know. In the business world, we say this to business people. If you think all your employees are monkeys, then you're the chief monkey, right? That's what you are. So stop thinking of your employees as monkeys, you know. Anyway, so yeah, we develop taste. When we develop taste, after taste comes the first indications of love. Because love is what defeats everything. Nothing can defeat love. So when you get the first taste of love, you really love what you do, and it shows, you know. You have taste, it shows, but when you have love, it really shows. It really shows, you know, and you realize from that point, there is no turnaround. You're completely sold. You're like, okay, we're into this now. Let's just go ahead and pick up as many people as I can on the way who will also enjoy this activity. So this is true for all our services. Some of us are very good speakers, some of us are very good kirtaniyas, some of us are very good deity worshippers, some of us are great temple presidents, some of us are great, temple floor sweepers. Whatever we might be great at, each of these services is actually an absolute service. It is absolute. When you sweep the floor, you get the same credit as a guru making disciples. Did you know that? In fact, in the 10th canto, Prabhupada makes a very amazing statement. He says, those gurus that have many disciples, you should hear this most of the time. It's really interesting. He says that those gurus that have many disciples in the material world actually are creepers that are growing on the trees in Vrindavan.
Who's the creeper? The guru?
Yeah. Are creepers that are growing on the trees in Vrindavan. Prabhupada describes it. It's Prabhupada's words in the 10th canto. I read that and I said, no way. You'd think that a person who has many disciples is such an exalted person, right? Maybe a gopi or a Manjari Gopa or something, Prabhupada describing, the creepers. And because, there they don't get much, attention, so here they get a lot of attention and, they get fulfillment of their desires to have followers. Like that. Amazing. Prabhupada also, very close to that, he makes another statement that's also very amazing. He says, actually Krishna is not very beautiful. What? In the 64 qualities of Krishna, right? That the 4 qualities that separate him from Narayana, who has 60 qualities, one of it is his exquisite beauty, right? It's one of the qualities that separates Krishna from Narayana, that his exquisite beauty. And Prabhupada is saying here, actually Krishna is not very beautiful. In the next statement he says, but when Radharani is next to him, he becomes very beautiful. It's actually Radharani who was making him look very beautiful. He becomes very beautiful. Because Radharani is next to him. Prabhupada sometimes killer statement. You hear killer statement after killer statement with Prabhupada, right? Never I would have ever expected that type of statement, This is why Prabhupada said actually, he had no complaints about his devotees, his followers. He had only one complaint. What was that complaint?
You don't read my books.
They do not read my books. That was his only complaint. They do not read my books. Because in his books, everything is there. If you read his books scrutinizingly, there's wonderful, wonderful statements. You'll be rolling with happiness reading those statements. You won't have to go looking for happiness. You won't have to worry about the 9 levels of success. You'll hit the 9th level just by reading Prabhupada's books. This is how powerful these books are. Scrutinizingly. What does scrutinizingly mean? This word scrutinizing is very important. Prabhupada said there are 4 things that we should do to be really good devotees. One is to be, first one he said is to be very compassionate to other living entities. I want you to understand that everybody is suffering out there. Please be compassionate. Don't ask them, how many rounds are you chanting? You know what I mean? It's generally what we do, right? Are you following the 4 regulated principles? I'd love it if anybody say that. I remember going down New York once and I was wearing business dress, because I was going to a business meeting. So this devotee stops me on the road, Sir, you look very smart. I have this book on yoga. You know yoga, right? I said, yeah, I heard a little bit about it. Wonderful, it's wonderful. You read this book, you will become a great yogi. I said, wow, that's nice. I said, why would I want to become? So you'll become happy. You can have any desire I want fulfilled. I said, what if I want the desire that I not speak to you right now fulfilled? Is that fulfilled? I read this book. Started joking, I started turning the table on him. So he started getting a little flustered. Don't get flustered, Prabhu, you're fine. I said, I'm a devotee as well. Don't worry. He's selling the book to a devotee, so I'm happy to see you doing book distribution. I'm glad you're doing it. Carry on with the good work. And I bought the book and I paid him some money. You know? Because that's the way you can encourage them, right? I mean, I had the book in my hand, but in my library. Why not encouraging God? There's nothing better than encouraging the God. But you know, it's like, it's okay when you make those lines of book distribution, but you know, when devotees, people come to your temple, really what you need to show to them is you really care about them. That their best interest is what you're interested in. You know, you want them to be happy and successful. And that Krishna consciousness will come to the right place. And so, first friendship, you know, build some friendship so that you can actually, first can understand your agenda is not simply to promote your service. Your agenda is to promote their Krishna consciousness. It's like that. So it comes nicely. And then the next level is where you actually start becoming a leader, where you actually now are able to teach this to other people. You become a leader. That's the 8th level. Now you're becoming a leader. And leadership means what? This is a very important point. Leadership does not mean followership. Generally in this world, leadership means that I'm leading a group of people and they're my followers. And remember what do we say? Najanam, najanam? Yeah. Najanam, right? Najanam means what? We're not interested in followers. Leadership in ISKCON, in Hare Krishna, means that we're a catalyst. We're catalyzing. We are actually helping a person advance in their Krishna consciousness faster by our association. By giving our association, they actually increase their rate of progress. They become more rapid in their progress. That's the leader. That is the purpose of the leader. The purpose of the leader is not to boss everybody. That's the boss. That's what you call a boss. Boss is not leader. You know, boss has got his purpose and he's trying to achieve something, you know. In America, people get very angry at bosses. They call them those SOBs, you know, because BOSS. So point is that, you know, we're not interested in being bosses. We're interested in being catalysts. That is what it means to be a leader, which means that the people that we're working with, we consider them our master, not our servants. We call them Prabhu, right? Every person we meet, we call them Prabhu, means they're a master. Purpose is to serve. Service means expression of love. If you keep expressing love, then one day you will have full love. So that is the 8th level. And the 9th level is now you train other leaders. When you train leaders, so that they can actually train leaders. Because we want this to become an eternal exercise. Whatever service we want is an eternal service. It means it should be sustainable and scalable. Sustainable means that it always exists. Scalable means that it always gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That is our program. So that comes to the 9th level of success. Hare Krishna. As you know, I'm the type of person who can go on and on and on. So I have to stop someone and say it. Okay. Anybody has any questions, anything they'd like to say? Yes, ma'am.
The $300 billion baby,
Yeah.
I made one for free.
You made one for free.
Maintaining her.
Very nice. You need to advertise that. You become the richest person in the world. Yeah, that's true. Life comes from life, not from a $30 billion medical experiment. Anyway, they're going to take life to make life, right? It's not like they can make life out of chemicals. I put $30 billion of the chemicals together and life came out, you know. It doesn't happen. They've got to inject some life. They've got to get some life from somewhere to inject into that item so life will come. So they're not creating life. They're killing a lot of people. On that I can say yes. But giving life to a lot of people, not much. Not so much. Very good. Yes.
It's like if somebody is a guru and does have followers, like so many in our movement, that's not necessarily bad or wrong or...
Absolutely not. Absolutely. It's your service. If you're assigned some service by your the authorities, by your superiors, even by your peers, if they request you to do some service, and you do that service out of duty, like that. Of course, you're doing it out of love, but you're ostensibly it is out of duty that you're doing that. That's very important. That's very. The idea is not to try and promote yourself like that. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes people join the movement. I had a very good friend of mine who joined the movement, and the very first day he joined the movement, he said, "Just show me how I can become a guru. I don't want to know anything else. Don't tell me anything else. Just show me how I can become a guru." I said, "Well, first you need to become a disciple." When you become a disciple, then we'll talk about guru after that, And then when you learn what a good disciple is, I think you may give up your guruship. Although, Lord Chaitanya's number one instruction was Amara Ajnani Guru Sarvadish, right? So his instruction was, everybody must become guru. Everybody must become guru. And preach Krishna consciousness. So it is true that everybody, but not with the idea that we want to pose ourselves as gurus. We're not posing, we're posing ourselves as servants. No, there's no dare. The purpose of the comment was not to in any way be derogatory towards gurus. It's not easy to become a guru. Many people are requested to become gurus, they don't become gurus. Because you get the karma of your disciple, and it's not easy, right? You have to rise to a certain standard, You have to live at that standard. You can't artificially live at a standard. It's not your standard. Sooner or later, you're going to have a fall down, You're going to have a problem, And what do they say? Pride cometh before they fall, right? And for a man who has been honored, dishonest was death. So I think those statements should make us very sober and think to ourselves, let me not go beyond my own level, not rise beyond the level. In management science, there's a thing called the Peter principle. When a person is very proud, what you do is keep pushing them to a higher level of service. And sooner or later they realize they can't handle the service. And that breaks their pride. Then they realize that I'm artificially promoting my position, my status. It's not the right thing. It becomes obvious, and then they can't keep creating havoc for others. It's called the Peter principle. I think it comes after St. Peter, because Peter did some things that Jesus was not happy with or something, caused issues. Christianity has a lot of nice stories. Chocolate loved Christianity. Loved it. So, has a lot of nice things to teach. So it's a faith that actually does teach many nice things. But people don't generally follow the problem, they don't follow it.
The case of Srila Prabhupada said so many disciples.
Yes.
And he is still very strong.
Very strong.
So he just explained just now that the goal, a certain emotion, disciple can, be affected by that.
Yeah. If you don't have the Shakti, if you don't have the purity, Prabhupada was a very pure person, highest level of purity. In fact, we say now that he was a Shakti Vishavatar. So he was an empowered incarnation. So that's a very special position. We can't imitate that position. I think we have to try to understand that our position is, no, there may be somebody who will be like that coming in the future also. Maybe already around, maybe coming in the future also. And that's fine. Prabhupada didn't say there will be no more powerful preachers after him. He in fact said, some of my followers will do better than I did. But that's very hard to understand how that's going to happen. Because what Prabhupada did was extraordinary, totally extraordinary. I mean, 11 short years, to set up 108 temples. And hundreds of us can't set up one temple, what I mean? Going around the world 14 times, writing so many books, making so many disciples, saying things that are incredible statements. Incredible, beyond incredible statements. It's hard to see somebody else doing that, and better than that. But Prabhupada was very humble. Very humble person. It's actually the crown jewel for devotees, humility. On the crown, the jewel, the crown, the center jewel of the crown is humility. Prabhupada was very humble. Even when he was asked if you did so much, he would always say, no, my spiritual master has done. My spiritual master has done. And my spiritual master sent me his associates to do like that. He would credit his disciples and say, my disciples are actually associates of my spiritual master. And my spiritual master sent them to help me in my service. Statements like that, that's incredible humility. He would stand in line in the shower, right? He would stand in line based on when he came into the line. So, there's already a queue going to the shower, right? And then he would come and he would stand behind the last person who came and join the queue. Not like I'm the leader, so I'll take my shower first and you guys can take your shower. Stand. This is humility. He cleaned the floor after people eat, washed the dishes, served the people, cooked the food, served it, cleaned it up after they left. It's not happening. Talk about humility. That's amazing humility. For a person who is a Paramahamsa guru, a Paramahamsa personality, who can see the faults in others so clearly, he didn't point out their faults. He pointed out their strengths. And said, you American boys and girls, you can do big things. I have great expectations of you, because you will do big things. Now, did the American boys and girls do big things?
Yes.
You better believe they did. They went all over the world and made the whole world Krishna conscious. If there's anything bigger than that, let me know, because I haven't figured it out yet. If there's something bigger than that, let me know. So this is Prabhupada. Now, he did also criticize, some of the American disciples privately. Krishna Maharaj, my spiritual master, told me that he would always get criticized by Prabhupada, He goes, you Americans like this, like that. He would say things that make you feel like, don't think you're too great, So he would also put people in their place very quickly. Prabhupada was very good at doing that. When somebody's getting a little proud, somebody's doing kirtan, Prabhupada says, stop. And you think, why? I'm doing kirtan. No, you don't know how to do kirtan. And everybody thought this was the best kirtan we had. Everybody loved this kirtan. Prabhupada said, no, stop. You're not doing kirtan right. Give another person. You do. No, you stop too. You don't know how to do that. And then simple Mataji will come and she'll sing. Prabhupada said, yes, that's good kirtan. Everybody would say, what? Mataji doing good kirtan? We Prabhu's were doing good kirtan. Mataji, yes. That's Prabhupada. We heard that story about the painting, right? First devotees did the painting and people thought that they had a more technically superior product. And they wanted to impress Prabhupada, and all they did was they made Prabhupada angry. And, hard to understand, from an outward point of view. But from Prabhupada's point of view, he could see genuine devotion. And that is what he appreciated. I remember one Gaudiya Math devotee came to Fiji at one time. And he's quite well known in our movement here. Name is Bhakti Mangal Maharaj. Anyway, so when he would sing himself, there would be no real melody in it, It's like he's singing, but there's not much melody, So, Maharaj, why are you singing like that? So that's how you're supposed to sing. You sing from the heart. You don't try and do melody. That's what he would say, So we would sing and stop us because we were singing according to melody, And his point was, it's not the melody, it's the devotion. Now, of course, we do want melody. It's not like it's not the melody. But his point was, don't get caught up in your melody. Don't think, oh, I'm so melodious. I'm singing so nicely. Everybody is so impressed with my singing, my class, my whatever, my cooking, my whatever. Don't get carried away. Understand devotion is mean.
Bhaktisiddhanta said whether he would pick the worst kirtan leader sometimes to lead, because then he wouldn't be well absorbed and would focus on the deities and not
Right. Wonderful.
really focused on a technique.
Yeah, right. I also heard he put a lot of salt in his and the sabji, right? He would make it very salty so people couldn't overeat it. I think nowadays our technique is make it more spicy so nobody ever eats.
They do in Indian restaurant buffet,
Huh?
and it's so spicy.
Yeah.
People cannot eat too much.
Yeah.
They save the
And
butter.
then you can all you eat, right? All you can eat buffet.
Yeah.
You put one morsel in your mouth and you're running for fire hydrant, you know, you throw fire hydrant outside, you gotta put the whole hydrant in your mouth. If you're on fire after that, you know, it's like catch fire after you eat. Yeah.
Also, with the prasadam, when devotees would come out with maha, they'd be looking up, okay, I'll take that piece. No, that one, I'll take that one. And the devotee told Prabhupada about it, and then Prabhupada said, mix it all
Mix it
up. And therefore they won't discriminate based on taste.
Sometimes they do that in Mayapur too.
Really?
When they have a big festival and they do mix everything together and they just, whatever comes, they
Yeah.
just give it back.
You know, they want people to get caught up in taste and things like that. Yeah. It's wonderful. The essence is from the heart. The essence is from the heart. If you love Krishna from the heart, you love the devotees from the heart, then that's what gives us the maximum mileage. I remember 56 or 57 in the Nectar of Devotion for the 64 limbs of bhakti says that the fastest way to make progress in Krishna consciousness is to serve devotees. And you know, it's not something that we're very good at really on the Srinath movement. We need to get better and better at serving our devotees. You were saying something?
Well, this morning I made an announcement to our devotees about what you told me about the first woman guru. So if you could just say a few things now.
Nice, yeah. GBC has now approved a woman as a guru. International GBC. Her name is Mother Narayani. And because the Indian Yatra threatened to resign from ISKCON, they said, no, if you make a woman guru, we're no longer part of ISKCON. We're put out. So then they asked Mother Narayani to hold back until 2015 to start practicing her guruship, just so that they can work with Indian Yatra about what the issues might be. Because there's concern that if she preaches in India, then the women in India might become, what should I say? Well, empowered may not be something you can argue against. If you're supposed to get empowered, but they might become
Uppity.
uppity. Yeah, uppity is a good word. It's not the word I was looking for. You know, they might become belligerent or sorry. Belligerent is a strong word also. Yeah, they're worried that women will come, you know, will be in your face with and
More assertive?
assertive. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Very nice. They might become more assertive. That's what I'm saying. And as a result, that might cause disturbance in society. Indian society, in a lot of ways, says that the woman's position is to be shy in the background, like that. You see what I'm saying? That's how they see things.
There's many, but in India in general, there's many lady gurus.
Oh yeah, in other
Society
sampradas.
of only.
Yeah, and even in the house, many of the women are more powerful than the men. They crack the whip. A man goes to work and earns some money and comes and gives it to the woman. You know, and so it's amazing how it really happens, you know. Isn't that true? It is true. I know that it's true.
Yeah.
I can tell you it's a fact. You know. So the point is that this is a little. It's what do you call it? It's like an oxymoron. There's another word for it. You know, it doesn't make sense. You know.
Sensitive.
Yeah, it's a sensitive
Issue.
issue. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Anyway, the idea was not to bring up that part. The idea was to bring up the part that the first guru has been appointed, and which means the second one will be, and the third one will be, and the fourth one will be, and then many women gurus will be there. Prabhupada at one time, Prabhupada one time did say that he wanted 2 million gurus, both men and women, and that's in writing. 2 million gurus. Right now, I think we have in this convert 60 gurus, maybe 60, maybe 65 gurus. I think we were short of 2 million. We need to have 2 million devotees first, I guess. Anyway, 2 million devotees means 2 million gurus. So. Yes.
Well, quoted Prabhupada saying that he was only going to initiate when gurus in the most severe circumstances. Is that true?
In the most severe circumstances.
Right.
He was going to initiate. I mean, Prabhupada was going to initiate.
Or the Hare Krishna movement would initiate only under dire circumstances.
Well, this is the type of talk you'll hear from, you know. It's like society talk, right? Society talk, you'll hear everything, right?
So it has no relevance.
No, there's no relevance at all. You know, that is, that's what I call xenophobia, you know. That's the definition of xenophobia, where you're afraid of people who are not like you. So men are sometimes afraid of women because they're not like men. You see what I'm saying? So, and women are not the same, by the way, the other way, it can happen the other way as well, just as much. So xenophobia says that, you know, only in the most extreme circumstances should Westerners be allowed to do deity worship. Okay, that's xenophobia in action. Thing like that. So that's one of those statements in that line. It has nothing to do with reality. The reality is that the GBC can appoint, you know, a woman person to become a guru. And that's been proved. Now the GBC has appointed. A long time the battle has been with one of the main yatras in the world, which is the Indian yatra. So, and they were presenting a lot of scriptural references about this. So then, when the scriptural references were presented the other way as well, that's when it became a subject for debate. Prior to that, there was no debate because all the arguments on one side, there's no debate, right? Debate means arguments are from both sides. So that's happened now. Yeah. I mean, there are statements in our books where Prabhupada said that sound like women are second class, like that. But we have to understand that it's the qualities that he's talking about, the qualities that women have, which, by the way, men have the same qualities. It's not like they don't have. A lot of men, you know, have those qualities as well. Actually, the soul is female. You know, we may be male in this life, next life we may be female. So it's, you know, the same soul can have gender changes in terms of body, racial changes according to body. Prabhupada gives a nice example. It says, you know, that Pakistanis get born as Indians and Indians get born as Pakistanis. You know, where they hate each other so much. They think about each other, so when they die, they become born in the next step. Okay? Whites get born as blacks, blacks get born as whites. Because they hate one another. When they do, not all of them. When they hate each other so much. So if there's someone you're meditating a lot on, because you don't like the person, but in the next life you will become that kind of person. So that's what you meditate on. So it's not to hate people, you see what I'm saying? It doesn't help us. Other questions? Some feel really shy, you like to listen to them and ask questions. You're probably more intelligent than anybody else. Yes.
Srila Prabhupada allowed women to become a guru.
Yeah.
Okay, so why the guru demanded like that? Because when Srila Prabhupada says something, so they're mistaken.
No, it's not mistaken, that's true.
So why they,
Well, they translated that women can become Siksha gurus. So then the counter argument, then the men should be Siksha gurus too, right? 2 million gurus, if they're all Siksha gurus, then why are they need Siksha gurus? So, you know, it's, again, it comes back to, you know, there's arguments and there's counter arguments. Both sides, see what I'm saying? So, yeah, it is true. Jai, Radhamada Hari, Jai, Lord Jai, Hanuman, Jagannath, Any other questions? So we're done, right? It's the end of the program. 5 minutes. Tomorrow is Tuesday.
I have a program at Lawrence House.
Nice, thank you very much. for inviting us.
That's tomorrow night at 6:30. And what do you think?